It's called the Motor City. It started racing back in 1928 on a 1-mile dirt oval. It was won by Ray Keech at a top speed of 86 miles an hour. We're about to go a lot faster. In fact, it's time to fire the engines.
And now for the most famous words of motorsports, a custom that originated at the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500. Here to give the command, President and Chief Marketing Officer of Quicken Loans, Mr. Jay Farner.
Drivers, start your engines!
Wheel 8, you're not already there.
Engines come to life on the 25 cars that are about to take the green flag. Let's get our final update, pre-race style from pit lane. Jamie Lippi, you're up.
Well, Marty, for the first time in his IndyCar Series career, EJ Viso is starting in the #1 position. Now, even though he showed a lot of power yesterday, he told me this morning he was down on power. Chevrolet and the team went to work, made some internal setting adjustments. They believe they're powerful enough to stay up front. Let's go to Vince Welch.
A year ago, Scott Dixon won this race, starting from the pole and led every single lap. He's going to see it today from a completely different perspective. Dixon rolls off 15th. Now, this is a two-stop race. It should not be a fuel strategy race, but it will be a pit strategy race. When he pits within his window, this 9 team is going to guarantee or hope that that's going to get them track position, that he won't have to pass cars on the track. Rick.
Well, Vince, for a driver who's won 2 races, James Hinchcliffe, if you ask him, won't tell you he's having such a great season. That's because he's won 2 races, including his first IndyCar race, but he's also finished last twice. He had an Indy 500 forget, and this race will have gone so well. He's starting 20th today, but he's still in the hunt for the championship. He's in 5th. He knows some good finishes, and maybe another win or 2 could put him back in that game.
Thank you, team. Let's set the starting field for you, and you will notice on the front row, as we mentioned, EJ Viso and Mike Conway. Conway was over in England earlier this week and comes over here and puts it on the front row. Now, 10 of the 13 races have been won from the first 2 rows, guys.
And that's very important here, and that's why they talk about pit strategy like they did with Scott Dixon. The guys at the back have to have a plan to move forward. Maybe they can do that by conserving fuel and then passing cars. When everybody pits, they're going to try and run some hard laps, Marty, and move their way up.
Notice right there in row 6, Dario Franchitti. He actually won the pole, but he's one of 4 drivers that incurred the 10-position starting penalty for an engine change back at Indianapolis, so he's got his work cut out for him.
He has not won a race this year, and that is not normal for that team. But this is a really difficult track. There's hardly any grip at all, and even if you look at a driver like Marco Andretti, who's blindingly fast on these street circuits, he's way back. So you have a lot of powerhouses in the back, and they have to find a way to make it to the front, and it's hard to pass here.
And what you're noticing as you continue to see this field with Charlie Kimball pulling up the tail end of the 25 cars, a lot of great names that are starting deep in this field. Let's talk about this 2.35-mile layout, Scott.
We talked about street circuits being very rough. You see turns 1 and 2. Turn 1, not a bad passing opportunity. You can see the old turn 3 on your right-hand side. Well, there's now changed. We have a half-a-mile longer straightaway with that long run to turn 3, a great passing opportunity. Turns 4 and 5, you'll have to really move people around if you want to try and get past them. Turn 6 down that long straightaway. Got to get it a strong passing opportunity in 7. You get through what they call the fountain turns, and that run through 12 and 13 is very important to have a good shot down that straightaway to pass going into 1. The pit road exit, very confrontational here, and that will be the situation throughout this complete day.
Cars still on the pace laps. Let's check in on our 6 onboard cameras. First up is Charlie Kimball as we work from back to front. He's got the Novo Nordisk onboard camera starting 25th. Ryan Briscoe with the National Guard camera. He'll be starting 21st today. And as always, the GoDaddy camera with James Hinchcliffe. James starting in the 20th position. Last week's winner, Tony Kanaan, starting 19th with the Firestone onboard camera.
All right, bud, you got a radio check? Copy radio check. Keep putting a little bit of tap in those brakes, DK. Make sure they're reinforced.
Brakes are important at this. We'll talk about that more. Simon Pagenaud, the number 77 with the Honda onboard. He's starting 8th. And our defending series champion, Ryan Hunter-Reay, starting fourth with the Verizon onboard camera.
So if I need some help with the rear tires from where I'm at, the first position the first one you're going to go to is position 3.
Okay, mentioned position 3, Scott, what they're talking about.
It's a fuel trim, and that's what they're going to try. A lot of teams will try and save fuels. We talked about running a different strategy here. It's going to be very important throughout this race.
Got a chance to remind you this broadcast is available in Spanish. All you have to do is activate your SAP button presented by ESPN Deportes. So far, we have been very lucky with the weather. The forecast was that we were supposed to be in a deluge by now, but right now it's mostly cloudy, 79. The wind is beginning to pick up, though, Eddie.
That's not that big of a problem in a place like this, but we're all looking at the weather trying to find out what's going to happen. But what is really important here, Scott, is you have to get tire temperature into your tires.
All right, let's check on the past winners because we have 5 in this field that have won here. Elio Castroneves is the only 2-time winner. And, of course, Tony Kanaan won twice in Firestone Indy Lights here at Belle Isle. Now, remember that they have the black primary tires and the red optional tires. The reds are a little bit more grippy, but they also have a tendency to wear faster. Here are the 7 that are starting on the reds.
And if you're further back, you want to take advantage of those red tires like Ryan Briscoe with a little bit more grip. Hopefully you can pass quite a few cars before you get to your first pit stop.
All right, so as they make their way down the back end of the racetrack, we're getting ready to go green here at Belle Isle, and there is EJ Viso on the inside. There have been 16,000 Major League Baseball doubleheaders. We're about to have the first in the IndyCar Series. The duel in Detroit is green. Everybody made it down through turns 1 and 2. This is that long new straightaway, and here we go. We're going to see what our first attempts at passing. Look at what power on the left side of your screen.
And Scott Dixon also.
Oh, we have contact. The 2-car of A.J. Allmendinger climbs right up and over one of the target machines.
Just isn't that much room, is there, Scott? You make a mistake by 5 inches and you're over the top of somebody.
Well, these open wheel cars, and you can see the team owner Roger Penske disappointed on that, calling the race for A.J. Allmendinger. Remember, this is Roger's hometown and his race here at Belle Isle.
And AJ, this supposedly is the last race that they had programmed for him, so this really isn't the greatest way to end his race in Detroit.
Especially after coming off a very strong 7th place run last week at Indianapolis, and had it not been for his seatbelts coming loose, he would have been in the mix at the end.
He was in such a shot to win, but let's watch a replay here. A lot of jaw hauling going on. You can see that he's just looking to make a move going on the inside of Scott Dixon, and there just was not enough room between him and Justin Wilson. Now, let's watch this one more time. On board with James Hinchcliffe. Watch how narrow the track gets up here. And as a driver like James, you're hoping that you don't run over anything that's going to puncture a tire, and you've gotten through that.
Dixon is going to have to come in to change his rear wing. It looked like he had some contact with that. Those things happen so quickly. You cannot react to what's in front of you because you just don't have time. You're braking, trying to turn in, and if you get pushed, here's Dixon coming into the pits. If you get pushed, there's nowhere to go but the car in front of you. Once these cars hook up with the tires, they take off.
And it wasn't really AJ's fault. There just wasn't enough room for him to actually be able to go full turn.
Right on the board.
There's the damage. Vince?
The 9 team does have a rear wing assembly that they are going to put on. It's a new assembly. That's the first one obviously damaged in that contact with Allmendinger. So Dixon gets the new rear assembly, wing assembly put on. Doesn't look to be any other significant damage with the race car. They went ahead and made a tire change as well. But as I'm observing and taking a look at the car, I don't see any other damage on the right side of the car for sure. Just that rear wing assembly, and they are replacing that. So really, it could have been a lot worse, but this 9 crew over the wall getting the job done right away, and it looks as though that's going to be the only needed repair for Dixon.
And you don't have to worry about both target cars being red this week because Dario Franchitti is in a black machine in the number 10. So as Scott makes his way back up, they're still cleaning up out at the crash site where A.J. Allmendinger climbs up over the back of Scott Dixon. Our first caution here at Belle Isle. under our first caution here at Belle Isle in the first of our double-header races, and that is Mike Conway leading E.J. Viso and Ryan Hunter-Reay around this track. The reason for the caution is A.J. Allmendinger out of this race. He'll be back tomorrow, hopefully. Let's find out more from Jamie Little.
And I'm joined now by Roger Penske. You watched the replays there, Roger. Heartbreaker for A.J. Allmendinger, first time here. What did you see happen?
Well, I think we just got squeezed. Too many cars trying to go in one position, but it's a shame early in the race like that. But our guys will put it together, and we'll be back here tomorrow. So it's one good thing about the duels, I guess, this weekend. And certainly A.J., I know he was disappointed. But to me, you know, we'll have a great race here, hopefully, and safe race. And I'm just sorry we're out so early.
So they'll repair this car, and he'll race it tomorrow?
Absolutely.
All right, the duel. That's the fun of it, right, Marty?
Well, we're going to find out if it's going to be fun. When you crash out the first lap, you want to get back. All right, our Indy 500 champion is our biggest mover of the race so far, and literally in that one lap, Tony Kanaan picked up 4 positions, guys.
And probably no surprise because he is the master at restarts. A lot of drivers in this series say, I watch film to watch how I can restart like Tony because he's always guaranteed for a thrill. Watch this. He'll be the last guy to get on the brakes when it comes up to the turn. And he's probably going to do it on the outside of an old teammate, Marco Andretti. So he does it the hard way. And then back on the gas, and you know how difficult this is because the tires are not completely warm, Eddie, and plus this track's so bumpy, you're spending half your time with the tires in the air, and then they get through that accident zone from A.J. Allmendinger, and then it goes under yellow, so they all start to get into file.
There is nothing more humiliating for a driver to be passed on the outside on cold tires at the start of a race. That sets the pace for the rest of the race.
Justin Wilson has picked up 3, as did Simona Di Silvestro, Charlie Kimball, and Dario Franchitti. Vince?
Dixon has come back in to top off. They wanted to take a look at that front wing and make sure that there was no significant damage there. They investigated, said it was okay. So Dixon is down and away, as you see, with just a top off of fuel.
So a tough break for Dixon from the standpoint of he didn't see any of this happening until it was coming up over his head, and he is now shown in 24th position. Of course, Allmendinger, the first car out of this race, so he'll catch up to the pack as we'll get ready to go back to green flag racing.
You could tell the preparation of Team Target that they had practice changing that rear wing many a time because they got in there in and out so smoothly.
There's the number 12. Of course, that's Will Power. Power right now shown in the 7th position. Some of the other key cars. There goes the National Guard car. That's Briscoe. He's shown in 19th position. And from high above, you get a chance to see down on Mike Conway. And Conway has been very solid. He's going to start on pole tomorrow for the second of our dual races.
And with that team, with Dale Coyne Racing, he's done a tremendous job. Got the point from the start here. We'll see if E.J. Viso is going to try and do it the same to him on this green flag that coming up to.
He has taken the inside, and it's the first time since Edmonton in 2011 that Mike Conway has led an IndyCar race, the 4th time in his career. And here they come down the straightaway. The flag is up, and we're back to green.
Oh, Conway gets it done again.
Whoa, diving inside. And they made it work.
I think that was Will Power getting a couple cars on the inside. And Eddie, we always like to call that, pardon me, excuse me, I'm coming through. And Will Power, a road course specialist, but did not have a great qualifying run. He really expected him to be up on the point.
He has not had a great season, and he's trying to make his mark here. There really is no sheriff in the IndyCar series right now because there is nobody dominant. Last year, he was the one, and he's trying to get back to the front.
The best team so far this year has, without a doubt, been Andretti Autosport.
What they've been great at is all the drivers have alternated. It hasn't just been one driver winning all the races, Scott.
Hinchcliffe has 2 wins. Ryan Hunter-Reay has a win. As we head down the long straightaway, off to driver's left is the Detroit River.
And here comes Power again.
Diving down on Viso, and he makes it stick again.
And Eddie, we call that the surprise move, don't we? Because the driver's not expecting somebody to come around the outside of him, but you want to set yourself up that way so you're on the inside for that right-hand turn. He did that beautifully.
Not only beautifully, but he is extremely committed, and every hole that he has, he's taking advantage of. Don't forget, we're in Detroit, and that is Penske City, so he has to do very well here.
Now, the way to tell the difference between the 2 remaining Penske cars, notice that the 12 is all black. Black mirrors, black end plates. Now, when you get to Elio's car, that will have the red mirrors and end plates.
It's going to be kind of easy to see it because Power is the one that's on a rampage today.
You know, it's amazing. Now watch here. This is the 12 car of Will Power, and watch him. He's on the inside, a man on the mission, not one, but two, but three, and I'll get as many as I can, and that's a surprise. He's just trying to catch people on a little bit of a nap there, Eddie, and guys don't expect that sometimes in a restart.
It's not so much a nap. We're racing on cement here, and the tires have no temperature at all. We were talking about Kanaan being good on those restarts. Power's doing exactly the same thing. You're not comfortable the first 2 or 3 laps, so if everybody else is uncomfortable and you're willing to risk, you can really make some big passes.
There's also been 2 races on this track so far today, but it has still not really rubbered in. As we're looking at the 55 right there of Tristan Vautier, the rookie, as here comes James Jakes, and Jakes has looked good this weekend, and he takes the position.
Boy, he's been impressive. The last couple of years, he just keeps improving, sneaks up on things, and all of a sudden you look at the results after a weekend and you go, gosh, did he ever move up and do a good job? But right now, with this new team, with Ray Hall Lanigan Racing, he has really proven that he knows what's going on. And Rick, you got more on James Jakes?
Well, the great thing for Jakes is they unloaded off the track very good. The car has been literally very good in each session, which has helped him because they haven't had a lot of time on the track. And one thing to think about with Jakes, he has finished every lap of the races this year. He keeps finishing. As a result, he knows how to bring them home. Now he just needs to get some good finishes. And they said they're working on the pit crew to try to give him those better pit stops so he can do that.
I would like to add something that both of you have said. Don't forget who his teammate is.
Dario Franchitti, as he gets around EJ Viso. So Franchitti moving up as well. Now, Viso's having some problems. Jamie, what are you hearing?
Well, he just came on the radio and said, I'm having a boost issue. We have the Chevrolet engineers here looking at some mapping in the computers, trying to figure out exactly what their issues are. I'm going to listen to this team, and I'll update you if they make any leeway here. Vince?
Well, you saw Dario Franchitti make that move into the top 5. Remember, Franchitti started 11th, but keep an idea, as you saw Jakes go around Viso as well, but keep an idea, keep this in mind. Franchitti earned pole position. He was the fastest qualifier, but he had to take that 10-spot grid penalty because of the change of engine at Indianapolis. So Franchitti is on the move, but he's got one of the fastest cars here all weekend.
As you can see, he's picked up 3 spots, moving up from 8th to 5th. Now he's got some open track. He's on the red alternates, setting sail.
Now, we know these red alternates are faster, but, Scott, we don't know how long they're going to run because we haven't done these long runs yet in practice.
There's your race leader, Mike Conway. He's got a 0.7 of a second lead over Ryan Hunter-Reay and Alex Tagliani. Yes, Tags has moved into 3rd. We'll be back after a word from your ABC stations.
Welcome back to Belle Isle, turning lap number 9. EJ Viso on your screen in the 5 car. As I reported earlier, he was down on power this morning. He slipped back another position. I just was told by the team, Ziggy Harkis, his strategist, something is wrong internally. He has no power down the straightaways, but they don't want to bring him in because that would drop him all the way to the back. So you hear the radio? There, they're looking for a caution. Stay out until yellow is the word for EJ Viso.
Yeah, but at the rate they're going, Jamie, they could be dead last in this field because he is just not able to keep up. No grunt going down the straights.
It's actually more difficult to be in his position right now, trying to not get run over cars, but keep up your pace, Scott, because they keep getting you under braking. He's not. It looks like he has a braking problem, but that's not the issue. The issue is he's down on power.
And we saw Elio Castroneves make a nice move past Tristan Vautier. Great job that he's doing as a rookie.
Simon Pagenaud also moving around Vautier. So Pagenaud moving into 9th, Vautier 10th. Let's go on board with Simon.
Just watch the steering wheel on your left-hand side here. How rough it is for a driver going down the backstretch now. Going to that turn 7, and this pounds on your arms, Eddie, as you know, we talked about before. And also, when you're going over these bumps, the pressure goes up your back and into your spine, into the base of your neck. We are worn out after one race here. We always take a week to recuperate, but we got to come back tomorrow, do it again.
And I'm thinking back to our onboard camera shots last week at Indy, how everything is so calm and very smooth.
At Indy, we're going 220 miles an hour. Here, some of the hardest parts of the track is braking for these 60-mile-an-hour very tight corners. The problem is when you're braking and you're on these, it's really hard.
Well, notice that Ryan Hunter-Reay is starting to close the gap on our only race leader so far, Mike Conway. We've had a number of passes behind Conway. He's held on to the top spot, but all of a sudden, here comes Ryan Hunter-Reay. Rick, you've got more?
Yeah, just want to update what happened. They basically, because they were at the back of the pack, they felt the smart thing to do was simply to come in, bring them in off strategy, refuel them now, and just see if they can get the Luxa play into their hands later on in the race.
So Graham Rahal comes back out onto the track. Meanwhile, this battle continues to tighten up between Ryan Hunter-Reay in second place and the 18 driven last week by Anna Beatrice, this week by Mike Conway. Deeper in the field, there is the 7, that silver car. That's Sebastian Bourdais going around James Hinchcliffe.
Nice timing on the move. Just got in front of the wings of Sebastian, because as you know, Eddie, if you run over a wing with your tire, you end up getting a flat tire.
Why do you always look at me and smile when you say that?
Oh,
Didn't I have an issue once in Detroit?
I remember a time at Detroit in 1990 when we first started. I left the pit lane and you rolled out of the pit lane from behind me and drove over the wing and got a flat tire.
I'm still not sure how I ran into your front wing and I was going forward. But okay, that might be a Canadian thing. Let's get back to the race.
Fight nice, kids. Fight nice. All right, here we go. It's calmed down for at least the second. That is Marco Andretti, the points leader, coming in. Let's listen in on Marco's radio.
Yeah, copy that. He's starting to hit some traffic. EJ's got a boost problem in front of him. He's got red tires. Everybody with red tires is going off bad.
We were expecting that, Scott.
Yes, that's some great information. 2 pieces of information in there. That EJ Viso has a boost problem with the engine, so not getting maximum boost to get maximum horsepower. And then they're watching the people like we are, Eddie, with the reds, as you mentioned, as they are going off. So that means the tires are starting to slip underneath the drivers.
But Tagliani is 3rd and Franchitti is 5th, and they have red. So I'm not quite sure that applies to all the cars. If your car is well balanced here, they seem to be doing well. And here comes Dixon.
Side by side, Dixon tried to make it through what we call the Fountain Complex, a series of quick turns, most of them to the left.
And that is so hard, Marty, to try and pass people in that area there. Tells me maybe Hinchcliffe is just off song just a little bit getting into that turn.
What happens is if you give up one position, a whole train comes by and you lose your confidence. You can't get going again. But this is not a place where you try. All the passes that we've seen that have worked, you've just dived inside and you hope the guy gets out of the way.
Let's get an update on Tristan Vautier. He's in the pits. Rick.
Yeah, the concern here is tires. They started on the alternates. They've decided to come in and go ahead and go to the blacks right away. And once again, when you're in the back, make that change now and try to go on a different strategy. So they're sending him out on those black tires.
Bourdais makes a nice move to pick up the spot. And he is now closing on EJ Viso. Our pole sitter has dropped back to 13th position.
But I think he's doing a very good job of dealing with a car that has an engine problem right now, Scott. To be able to stay out there, not get involved in an accident, let people go by, but still fight is admirable.
And when you have that, Eddie, as you know, driving by looking in your mirrors is so tough.
That's not a good thing.
So it's Bourdais now taking a look underneath. They head down to turn 7.
And Hinchcliffe and Dixon are going at it like cat and dog.
Let's update you. Joseph Newgarden has made a pit stop. He stayed on the black primary tires as that report has come from pit road.
And Marty, with tires, the rule here is that you have to use in the race both a set of primary and a set of alternate tires, the red wall tires, and you have to at least use those for 2 laps each sometime during the race.
So that could change the whole complexion of the race if they haven't used them until that last stop, if they go off.
Well, if they do go off, but you know, we can tell because of the red sidewall what tires the drivers have on their cars. Then again, so can all the other drivers that are on the circuit.
Rick, let's send it to you.
Once again, they're concerned about the tire. Actually, this is just fuel now. They've decided that what they want to do. This is actually the second stop for Charlie Kimball. He came in that first yellow, fueled up a little bit. Once again, they realize they're so far back, they need to run a different strategy. So the goal now, bring them in, get 4 new tires, send them back out with a better set of tires and more fuel. Hopefully, let the windows come to him.
It's a great, we were just watching Marco trying to pass Hinchcliffe. That was a very good example of what a more mature driver he is this year. He had a chance to pass him and he pulled back.
Now let's watch, because we've discussed about blocking rules here, moving your car over in reaction to the car that's coming from behind. Marco did a terrific job there, leaving just enough room for Scott Dixon to get through.
Dixon gets around. Now Ryan Briscoe in his first drive as he has replaced J.R. Hildebrand. Marco right in front of him. There goes Dixon, Marco, and then Ryan Briscoe. Now, this is just for this weekend right now for Briscoe, and there may be other stops for him. Don't know who's going to be in that car for Texas.
Briscoe had very few laps in practice. Marco's in the pits.
So, Jamie, Marco's coming your way.
Everything looks fine to us. So
You hear the radio transmission there. Marco desperately wanted a new set of tires. He had an issue yesterday as well in qualifying, but a fast car overall, happy with the balance, taking the old tires off, putting on another set of primary blacks, building up with Sunoco fuel, and it was a good stop for Marco Andretti.
Well, based on the numbers we've heard, guys, here we are working lap number 15. That's not going to put him in his window probably to make it in one more stop. He's
Unless there's a yellow.
Unless there's a yellow.
Yes.
I think you can expect a yellow.
Yes, at some point in time. So do you just leave the same tires on and continue to move backwards, or you can't make progress going forwards? We saw him having trouble putting power down, getting out of the turn. So now they're in the fuel window. They'll turn around and take a shot at this.
But it's a risk.
If in case you're interested, the fewest yellows back in 98, 2. The most, 8 in 99. The average is about 4. A little bit deeper in the field, there's Alex Tagliani. As he has got the 12 of Will Power all over him. And right behind the two of them, that is Dario Franchitti trying to close.
And Franchitti has reds on, whereas Power has blacks. So we have a red with Tagliani, black for Power, and red with Franchitti. This will be interesting to see on who has more speed as the run goes longer and longer.
You know, for Alex Tagliani, I mean, a guy that's 39 years old is still one of the most fit guys in this series and most competitive, and he has worked so hard both on and off the track.
Sebastian Bourdais is making a stop. He's on the radio. Can't make out. He's being pretty emphatic that they've got an issue, and this is taking way too long. And now, yes. Oh, what started out as a great race for Sebastian Bourdais has just gone south. And here comes the race leaders. We'll get you an update as soon as we can on Bourdais. Right now, Mike Conway still has led every lap.
The first two cars, Conway and Hunter-Reay, have a 10-second gap on third place. That is a lot of distance for the other people to catch up. They are on a pace of their own at this race.
Okay, so I want to throw out to you two, why is it these two have been able to open up that big gap and everybody else is so far back?
I think a very, very bumpy track. You're running on cement. It takes a different sort of setup, I think, to do well here, and they just seem to have hit it right on the nail. And again, it's an Andretti car that's running for a win.
Well, you're not going to miss anything. We're going to step aside, go side by side, as there's the battle for third, fourth, and fifth. And there is your race leader, Mike Conway. Well, you saw James Jakes peel off from 6th place and do his pit stop on side by side. And Ryan Hunter-Reay has dropped back 2 seconds. We don't know if he's conserving fuel or if there's a potential issue, but Mike Conway right there leads by 2 seconds. Well, we've got a quick moment. Let's talk about the Toyota NHRA Summer Nationals from Englishtown, New Jersey. Qualifying is at 1 a.m. on ESPN2. The finals are tomorrow, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. That's also on ESPN2. Then our NASCAR Nationwide Series will be at Iowa next Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's on ESPN. You don't want to miss that because later this year, the Indy cars will be at Iowa Speedway. And that is a great track.
A busy track.
Yes, it is. Got a busy track right now as these guys are taking a pounding, but Mike Conway really looking good and coming up on slower traffic.
He is 14 seconds ahead of the third place and almost 3 seconds ahead of Hunter-Reay. And he's in lap traffic, and that will make a big difference here because there really only is one lane around this place, so you can't just shove somebody and move them out of the way, Scott.
Interesting to see how well his car is working as we're riding along board now with Charlie Kimball. Talk about how punishing this racetrack is. And you can look behind you, and there's the leader, Mike Conway. And so as a driver right now for Charlie Kimball, you see that. And if you have anything left in the tank inside of you, you push a little harder, trying to not go down one lap.
Look how much quicker Conway's
Yes.
turning into the corners. He's gaining a lot of speed going in.
And a lot of times what happens with this is that right now, Charlie Kimball is working harder inside the cockpit because his race car is not working as well, and it's a little bit easier job for Mike Conway.
All right, take a look here. Whoa! Hits a tire. Now, that's Charlie Kimball.
He's trying to make up for deficiencies in the car, and when that happens, and that's
see where the tire ended up.
Wow.
Those curves are interesting, aren't they?
They punish you, don't they? I mean, they beat the car, number one, and you feel that all the way through your steering wheel into your hands.
Conway is so fast under braking.
Well, little twitch there. He's got a little loose, but picks it right back up.
Question is he running a fuel number right now that will get him to make this a two-stop race, or is he just starting to consume so much fuel that he might need a splash at the end?
He's killing him under braking. Every car he's been around, he gains 15 to 20 yards under braking, and he's not gaining anything in the straightaway. So maybe he isn't running more fuel.
Here we go for a draft. Will he make it? He sets up.
Turn 7, and he's got him. So put Charlie Kimball 1 lap down. Next target is Marco Andretti, and remember, Marco has already been in for his pit stop.
Just that little bit of traffic cost Conway a full second. And Hunter Ray is right behind him again.
Rick, you've got more on our race leader?
Yeah, what a week it's been. Obviously, he got the phone call. He was in the UK, came over to run this race. Listen to the team. They're saying he is getting the fuel number. He's doing great on fuel, which means he's going to be able to stretch that a little more. May have hurt him a little bit when he was back behind Kimball, but being able to stretch that fuel window out as far as he can is only going to help him in this race.
And while we've got a quick moment here, remember last week when Chevrolet was dominating at Indianapolis? Right now, Honda is first, third, and fifth. Chevrolet running second and fourth.
I like that.
But what big tower do you see when we look out our window here?
We're in Detroit. This is the heartbeat of Chevy or GM land.
World headquarters.
So do you think Honda would like to beat Chevy here?
Oh, make up a little bit for Indianapolis, I'm sure.
Oh, Scott Dixon rubbed that in very well at the media luncheon a few days ago. He reminded everybody that he led every lap. All right, we are anticipating pit stops in about 3 laps, so we are going to step aside just for a moment with Mike Conway leading by 2.5 seconds over Ryan Hunter-Reay here at Belle Isle in the duel in Detroit. Well, points leader coming into the race, Marco Andretti, is getting passed now by Ryan Hunter-Reay, his teammate, and he is already 1 lap down. Mike Conway is your race leader ahead of Ryan Hunter-Reay in second place. Give you an update on Sebastian Bourdais. Vince Welch reported he has a stuck throttle issue. He's still on pit road. He's 7 laps down.
That's very difficult. But when we watch Marco Andretti, remember, he has pitted already and back on lap 14. So once everybody else goes into the pits, he's hoping that he might be able to get back on the point and take the lead.
He needs a yellow is what he needs.
Briscoe in. Rick?
Well, Mike Conway brings the car, and one of the advantages they have is they are the very first pit. Remember, it's his first time with this team. He didn't have to look for the team on pit road. They make a nice quick stop. Great for this team, and Conway is back out to try to fight for that lead.
That was an exceptional stop, Scott.
24 laps. Now remember, 3 of those laps were under caution, but we also had 2 pace laps. So the numbers that we heard from the crews, almost spot on.
And you have to get really 24 out of it each run to make this a 2-stop race. And
whoa! Tagliani goes off in turn number 3.
Keep it going, keep it going.
Now he's in trouble. It's almost impossible to spin the car there. In these cars,
Gotta hammer it.
no room. Now to get it in reverse is almost impossible. We watched Castroneves do this yesterday.
We'll keep an eye on that. Here comes Tony Kanaan.
1, hit your mark. Hold your brake.
Hits.
Tony Kanaan has had an overboost issue, but no matter what fuel mapping setting he is on, it still has the same issue. Nothing they could do about it, so no changes in 8.4.
So Kanaan came in at 10th place. He's going back out on track.
And that overboosting, as we're starting to watch Alex Tagliani now start to get turned around, and we're now going to go underneath a caution.
And we hear that Takuma Sato is off course as well. There he is, as he has come to a stop.
And the best call, Marty, because to get to Takuma, and he's starting to get out of the car, which is surprising.
What he was very smart is getting his car out of the way.
Jamie?
And Ryan Hunter-Reay in, putting those red sticky tires on. They filled it up with fuel. And he is down clean.
So he'll be able to finish that stop because he was in before the caution came out. And here is Will Power as he's in.
Go, 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 go.
There's also Dario Franchitti coming out.
In 4th place.
Helio Castroneves is in, Jamie.
Helio Castroneves in, filled it up with fuel, and he put the black primary tires on his car. Trouble on the track, the 14 of Sato. Let's go back upstairs to Marty.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out what happened to Takuma Sato. And of course, on the road course races, you can duck into the pits as soon as the caution comes out. And that's why you're seeing all this action. Vince?
James Hinchcliffe in the pits. Boy, they've had an oversteer problem in this race car. Says they just can't get it to attack the corner. Way too loose in the back end. They made a change.
So he gets back out onto the track as all these pit stops continue under caution. Tagliani's in. Vince?
Well, this is a real heartbreak for Tagliani. Remember, he spun earlier in the day, cost him some spots on the grid for tomorrow, but Tagliani's had a really good race car. They certainly did not need him to go around and cost him that track position as they were getting ready to come into the pits.
EJ Viso is in, as is Marco Andretti. Jamie?
Remember, EJ Viso early on had those boost issues. You're going to see them going to work, the engineers plugging in the download cable to find out exactly what's going on. You see him pointing back to the rear end of this car. They want to see the engineers are in there. That was quick. They took a look and let EJ Viso go. Let's keep an eye on the 5 car and see if they were able to fix something that quickly, Marty.
The man who started on point. And let's go back and take a look as he almost turned into the wrong pit. Carpenter was able to safely maneuver as well, so no harm, no real foul. EJ Viso back out on track. Hunter Ray is our race leader right now. We'll still follow up on Takuma Sato. We'll be back after a word from your ABC stations.
Detroit, the D-Town, the Motor City, Motown, Hockey Town, a place that drips with sweat, built on a backbone of steel. Roger Penske helped build this town. Now he's helping build it back. He knows that a win here is a tribute to a way of life. The hard way, the Detroit way.
And Roger has invested millions in the refurbishing of Belle Isle, as he, along with several other business leaders, have brought this race back to life as we are at the Indy Duel at Detroit. While we're under the second caution, let's remind you the NBA Finals begin Thursday. That's June 6th on ABC. Who will survive the Eastern Conference Finals? The Heat lead the Pacers 3-2 and contend for the championship against the Spurs. Game 1 of the finals is Thursday, June 6th on ABC, and our coverage begins at 8:30 with Kia NBA Countdown. Rick?
Well, let's start off explaining what went wrong. Sato literally ran out of fuel. They were trying to stretch it one last lap. They thought they had enough fuel in the tank, but they couldn't do it. Then when he brought the car in after being towed in, he motioned that his belts had come loose. So as a result, they're having to retighten the belts before they can send them back out. So one problem led to another problem. Talking with Larry Foyd earlier in the season, he was saying the thing we have to do is start making fewer mistakes. And sometimes they pulled that off, and sometimes they haven't. And today is not one of those days.
It's going to cost him dearly in the points championship. Right now, it looks like he would lose 2 spots. There you can see that Ryan Hunter-Reay with Ryan out in front. Of course, we've only got 27 of the 70 laps completed so far.
That is something that should never happen in today's day and age with computers.
Well, and what I want to do after we listen to Helio Castroneves' radio, I want to talk more about the seatbelt issue. It's the second race in a row where we've had it. Let's listen in. What's going on with Helio?
Helio, just remember on those kind of laps where we're coming around the pit, I want you to use that push to pass. 10-4?
Yes, I understand, but it's too early to use the push to pass.
Negative, don't start that. I want it, when I tell you use it, you use it. We'll manage it from here.
Just when I have it for overtaking me on the restart, okay, copy that.
It's a different attitude from a driver and a team manager in that situation. Elio saying, I want to use it in restarts because you can get maybe 2 or 3 or 4 cars on a restart if you actually use your push to pass, versus if you're just in traffic, you might only get 1. But as we know in today's racing, Eddie, the race strategy comes out of the pit lane, not necessarily outside of your helmet with the driver.
And the pits made it blatantly clear. I want you to use it, period.
When I tell you.
And remember, you only get a certain allotment, and he has 7 left on the push to pass. It gives you an extra advantage of horsepower.
For a handful of seconds, though, and it uses a lot more fuel.
You get 10 pushes in that last 15 seconds, so you want to make sure you take maximum advantage of when you use it. But it is early in the race. I mean, I will give them that. As a driver, you want to be able to use it maybe at the end if you're going to maybe get a couple cars by the checker.
Got enough time. We had a chance to sit down with Ryan Hunter-Reay. We talked about how punishing this race is going to be, doing the dual races. Here was what Ryan thought.
A street course is like putting yourself in a pain shaker and asking you to work out at the same time. It just, at the end of it, your joints ache. You know, the things you just can't prepare. Your fingers, your joints in your hands ache, your neck aches, and not necessarily your muscles, but just your bones. And just because it is so violent, these cars have very little suspension travel. So the bumps that come through the car even bottoms on the deck, it comes right through your body. So you really get all that punishment through a race.
Well, and while we saw this, under yellow, Tagliani has a problem as he ends up in the tire barrier.
Oh, definitely the nose is damaged. Hopefully he has not bent any part of the suspension. Let's watch here to see what was going on. Oh, you can see in the far backside there, it looks like he's just a little bit high or something happened. I'm not too sure, but he ended up going straight. It didn't look like the car would turn, so maybe something happened to the car. Mechanically, you can see at the bottom of the screen, just offline, and such a star driver does not make mistakes like that, so I'm suspecting something went on with the car.
And that is down in turn 4 of the racetrack, so this is going to extend this caution period. All right, we'll see if we can get an update on what happened to Alex Tagliani, but since we're still under this extended caution, we'll get out of here, take a break, and be back with more action here at Belle Isle. So, waiting for the hook to come and help him get back. So Ryan Hunter-Reay leads Mike Conway, Will Power, Dario Franchitti, and Elio Castroneves. The champ is out in front. So it looks like Alex Tagliani's day is over as he is out of the car after 30 of 70 laps here at the Indy Duel in Detroit. Our second caution continues, and we wanted to go back and show you exactly why Takuma Sato had a seatbelt problem. We thought it might be something similar to what happened to A.J. Allmendinger last week at Indianapolis. It was anything but he was already starting to get out.
He was frustrated. The car ran out of fuel. He thought, just get out, and that would be it. And they came back and towed him back to the pits, and now he's only 2 laps down. So that's what all that discussion was over the
Because
seatbelts.
you're wearing that helmet, you can't see to fasten those belts yourself.
It's impossible to put your belts on yourself.
We want to welcome our U.S. military viewers and their families who are watching today's race via the American Forces Network worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, we always salute you as you go on board with your car, the National Guard car, driven this week by Ryan Briscoe. All right, let's reset for you as it looks like we're getting ready to go back to green flag racing. As it is now Ryan Hunter-Reay in front of Mike Conway. They have been the only 2 leaders that we've had. As you can see behind them, we've got Will Power, Dario Franchitti, Elio Castroneves. And how about our biggest movers in the race? Well, Joseph Newgarden has picked up 14 spots. Justin Wilson and Tony Kanaan have picked up 10. And of course, Newgarden off strategy from the race leaders right now. And it has paid dividends to this point, but we'll see if it pans out at the end of the race. Newgarden will restart in the 10th position. All right, so our race leader, Ryan Hunter-Reay, the series champion from last year, picks the inside. And it looks like green flag is out. Wow.
He didn't even wait till it goes.
It looked like he took his half out of the middle.
Yeah, it's not Power, it's Franchitti. And they bumped.
Underneath Power. Side by side, the wheels do touch, but everybody's holding on. And right behind us also, Elio Castroneves, Justin Wilson on the outside of Castroneves. That scouting car, the number 19 is Wilson. On the inside, the number 3, that is Castroneves. And going straight off is James Jakes.
Oh, nicely done. Right. That was nicely done. They kept it going.
He's going to lose quite a few spots because of the restart, but at least he's still under power.
Now, did you see on that restart, Eddie? I think I saw you starting to motion also. Ryan Hunter-Reay was on the gas and already filling the center of the track instead of running 2x2. He was on a mission when he came around that last turn.
And what he has to do now is put 2 perfect laps together so he can put some distance between him and Conway. And they have different tires. Hunter-Reay is on reds and Conway is on black. So you would expect Hunter-Reay to have an advantage in these first 10 laps. But then at the end of the run, he will start coming back.
Everybody makes it through turn 7.
And Kanaan is up to 7th. With a car that he hasn't been too happy with.
There is Tony. Update on Sebastian Bourdais. They have pushed the car behind the wall. So a tough break for Bourdais. Not officially out of the race, but they've got to work on it back in the paddock area.
And Dixon is just saying hello to the car in front of him. I'm getting ready to pass, and just keep an eye on your mirrors.
2 great road course racers, Simon Pagenaud and that HP machine. And he knows how tough Dixon is, so he's going to turn around and try and make sure that he can make up time going into the turn, middle of the turn, and the exit of the turn. And Rick, you have more on Simon Pagenaud?
Yeah, he just came on the radio, told his team that the car is basically undrivable. It's been great going into today. He thought he had a good car in the beginning, but now on the track right now, and you see as he gets past, he does not like the way this car is running.
That situation there on the twitch too, Rick, you're right, because the back end is just twitching as he tries to put the power down. And in a road course, Eddie, as you know, you need to be able to get into the turn very quickly, roll through the center of the turn to be able to keep your speed up, and then get back on the gas without the back end coming around. You want to have confidence in putting your foot on the throttle.
Let's go back to the restart, because we always talk about risk versus reward. And here's Dario. He's 4th in line.
Right from the beginning, he anticipates it, just charges in. He takes over that space, and Power has no choice. And not only when he tries, he bumps him, and away he goes.
Now watch from up above here. He's making the commitment. It's bumpy there. Goes in there, surprises Will Power. Will Power cannot get into the apex, and right now Will Power, as you always say, Eddie, is going, I should have driven it harder. It's a little embarrassing when that happens, especially in front of the pit lane when all the teams are watching.
Nothing is more embarrassing than being passed on the outside when you're a race car driver.
Well, and if you notice there, Franchitti has opened up ground on 4th place, Will Power. So Dario, after the 10 position penalty for the engine change back at Indianapolis, has now moved his way back up to 3rd.
So the first 3 cars are in 2 seconds.
Let's get an update from pit road. How about it, Vince Welch?
Well,
whoa, somebody hit a tire.
End of the day for Alex Tagliani. What happened, Brian?
We're not really sure. Alex reported that somehow the steering locked up on him. He couldn't turn the wheel, and that's what put him in the tires there. It's disappointing for all of us at Barracuda Racing. We got a big group of people here from Barracuda Networks. They got their largest technical center just down the road here in Ann Arbor, and so luckily we got another day tomorrow to come back and try and get a good result for them.
Thanks, Brian. Marty?
More trouble on the racetrack as you finish up, as that is Sebastian Saavedra into the wall, and it is our 3rd caution right now, and that is at turn number 6.
So all the fuel strategy has gone out the window right now.
I'm thinking that the guys that have actually pitted, and if they can get to lap 46 roughly, then maybe one more stop after that.
From Ryan Briscoe's point of view.
Well, that's 2 cars fighting for 1 piece of road.
Got nudged, and in he goes. So as you say, this yellow certainly helps, as we see that number 10, Dario Franchitti, hitting some of the tires that are there to make sure guys don't drive over the yellow barriers that are on the ground, those rumble strips. And that tire, you can't see it when you turn in. You're so low in the cockpit that you just hope that you miss it. Here we go again. He just clips it with the inside wheels, Eddie, and sends it off.
The tricky bit here where Dixon really got lucky is he hit it with his back tire and not with his front tire.
Right.
And he has been on a rampage for the last 10 laps. That would have taken his front wing off.
So
Scott Dixon is now shown in 7th position, guys. So that gives you an idea just how hot that car has been. As you can see, Sebastian Saavedra is getting out. He'll have to make the mandatory trip to the infield care center. And think we'll apologize
And
for the
actually,
gesture.
yes, and that is a fine, and probably a fine times two, actually, since he was coordinated enough to do it with both hands.
That's a double-double.
That's right.
Well, I mean, he has every right to be mad, but he could have given up the space and tucked in behind. That's a decision you have to make right then and there. And if you decide to hang on and you're in the outside lane, well, you run out of road.
Well,
And
okay, so while we've got this opportunity, and Scott Dixon has definitely been on a tear. Let's go back and show you. This was the first lap. Remember, he gets climbed over by A.J. Allmendinger as Allmendinger got squeezed in between Dixon and Justin Wilson. So he goes in and he makes the repairs.
And his team saves that moment from being a disaster by just getting him out with a new rear wing, and he doesn't lose a lap. Then he has to keep working his way through.
So you can see his finishes here at Belle Isle, of course, leading every lap in the shortened race last year. But right now, he has come from the back of the field and is now in 7th position. So we're going to step aside, go side by side as this third caution continues. We got to clean up that mess. Sebastian Zavedra at the turn 5 exit. Our third caution here at Belle Isle in the first of our dual races is still ongoing. As you can see, some of the cleanup going on. That is what's left of Sebastian Zavedra's car on the hook, heading back towards the paddock area. Ryan Hunter-Reay is our race leader. And we showed you that A.J. Allmendinger had his race come to an abrupt end on the very first lap, and he has finally been released, and Jamie Little has caught up with him.
Yes, he was standing down here a little defeated. Your first time here to Detroit. You're holding your thumb, though, AJ. What happened?
Well, I jammed it once I tried to clear the fence there. Just tight start, you know, part of a street course, 3-4 wide, and you know, had guys on both sides of me and ran in the back of Scott Dixon. That's my fault. You know, everybody checked up in front of me, and I was more worried about the guys inside of me, and I wasn't ready for them to check up so early. So
we're going to show the replay right here, AJ.
Yeah, you know, that's just my fault. I feel bad. You know, I'm glad Scott's still in the race and getting back to the front. That's just that's my fault. And you know, trying hard sometimes is just not good enough right now. And Roger's putting a lot of support into me, and Team Penske, they're I'm giving everything I got, and you know, so happy to have Quicken Loans on the car, and not the way I wanted to show my appreciation. So try it again tomorrow, and just hopefully it's good enough. I'm doing everything I can, so I feel bad for everybody on this race team. My guys got to do a lot more work than they should right now, and it's all my fault. So just go try it again tomorrow.
Defeated, but not too often do you get a redo, so we'll see A.J. Allmendinger in that primary. They're going to fix it tonight. They'll be back tomorrow.
And, of course, we'll have that race for you at 3:30 Eastern Time right here on your local ABC station. Right now, what we want to talk about is baseball, because ESPN has action, sort of a doubleheader, Sunday and Monday. Tomorrow, it's an AL East battle. David Ortiz and the Red Sox take on Robinson Cano and the Yankees. That one's at 8 o'clock. And then on Monday at 7, the Yankees are back again to host one of the surprise teams of the year, the Indians, led by Chasen Kipnis. Both games are also live on the Watch ESPN app. All right, so our caution still continues here. And there is our race leader, Ryan Hunter-Reay. Behind him is Mike Conway, Dario Franchitti, Will Power, and Elio Castroneves. That is your top 5. We're going to step aside. You'll be back after a word from your ABC stations. Well, while we've got a moment, let's get you caught up with the Mother's Race rundown. Back on lap number 1, A.J. Allmendinger just had nowhere to go, climbed up over Scott Dixon. Dixon had to stop, make repairs. Here on the restart, look at Will Power, left side of your screen in that black and white Verizon machine. He picked up 3 positions. And Dario Franchitti, after being bumped back 10 positions for the engine change back at Indianapolis, gets around pole sitter E.J. Viso. He is right now running in 3rd. And Takuma Sato ran out of fuel, also ran out of seatbelt, and had to get him put back on. He has gotten back on track. Sebastian Zavedra is back in the paddock area, and Jamie Little has caught up with him.
Yes, and he's just walking down pit road. Who were you so frustrated at, Sebastian?
Man, it's just frustrating to see that Marco keeps doing these dirty moves, and as usual, nothing is done to him. It's just a very frustrating day. We were very strong. We were up there. Great strategy from the guys. My car was perfect. And he just punched me out. So it's just a very unfortunate situation for the two-car racing. We needed to finish the race. We were doing a good job, and it just sucks.
Thank you. Of course, he's talking about Marco Andretti, who, by the way, says his car is horrible right now, you guys.
And there you see the replay of it. And you guys were talking about, hey, this is street racing.
Yeah, it's really hard to make a call like that, but he was out, and I guess Marco saw a hole and he went for it. But it is once you commit, there's nothing you can really do.
Well, let's check in on Marco Andretti's radio.
So just for your information, Ray, looks like there's a slim possibility of a half an hour out. That means about the last 12 laps of the race.
Weather.
And they said rain, a possibility of about the last 12 laps. And of course, Marco was wanting to see rain because he knew it might be the equalizer because his car has not been handling all that well.
The first two now have to deal with Franchitti, who has been really quick.
We have to point out we are past halfway as if we're getting ready to work lap number 40 as there'll be 30 laps to go. 30, 31 as here they come down the front straightaway. It is Ryan Hunter-Reay on the left side of your screen, and he has the early lead.
Green flag, green flag.
Well, Franchitti took a look in that third position. Fourth was Will Power.
And he went a little bit wide coming out of one, so he might have a problem exiting two. No, he's fine.
Good clean restart. The only side-by-side action further back, as you can see right there, that's Marco Andretti.
You saw Marco's car just dancing around on top of the road.
Power.
Look at Kanaan.
And Tony Kanaan. Remember, that is the brand new section of the racetrack, and here comes Justin Wilson underneath Helio Castroneves in that 3-car.
And Dixon is not too far behind. He's in that leading group.
Here comes Dixon. He's going underneath Helio. So Castroneves is going in the wrong direction.
He is, and Dixon is keeping up with what he's been doing the whole day.
This is the time to pass people in the starts because everybody's close together. A lot more action going on here in the back.
Justin Wilson goes around Dario Franchitti.
So Dario has also gone backwards. And you know, Eddie, after your pit stop, sometimes you come out and your car just does not work for a lap or two until the tire pressures come up, and then it settles into a groove. And the guys that are going backwards are probably just struggling with trying to keep their cars even going straight on this bumpy circuit.
But that's where Kanaan always has an advantage. He's always really good on those first 2 laps. You cannot be tentative in those first 2 laps, and he's right up there. If his car has pace, he'll be able to stay. But these first 2 are just running away with the race.
And that first 2 is Ryan Hunter-Reay and Mike Conway.
2 target cars are right next to each other with their 6th and 7th place.
Boy, and I would not have given Scott Dixon much of a chance to get back this far forward in the field, but he has done a marvelous job. Tony Kanaan as they come through turn 3 again. Boy, that new extension of that track change has really paid dividends. Let's go back and show you the restart on board with Tony Kanaan.
Because you get that run going down the straightaway, leads into a 90-degree turn, so guys have to really get on the brakes and slow down. And just watch this. Excuse me, coming through, gets a couple right there.
I
Takes
didn't hear him
advantage
say,
of that.
excuse me. He just said, I'm coming through.
Well, some drivers, you know, are polite, Eddie.
I don't think he was being polite. That was one heck of a move. He committed so early on. But the man right now is Wilson.
Oh, look out. We got an issue for James Hinchcliffe as he has got a tire stuck up underneath.
It looks like, oh, you got a cone. You got a cone. That's all you got.
That's not a cone. That's a tire.
That's a tire, and the rules only 4 tires are allowed.
Yeah, that happens when you keep trying to cut short those curves.
And it is on that wing plate there. He's going to have to make a stop. There's no way that's going to come off.
Well, unless you drive over some gator bumps and get the car high and it comes out from the bottom.
That's not coming out. I think that's there forever.
Well, if he wears out all the rubber, maybe it stops dragging and he keeps going.
Somehow I don't think that's having a good effect on the aerodynamics on the right-hand side of the car.
Well, as you can see, the smoke still generated. Here he comes. He's coming your way, Vince.
Well, it's been a handful for James Hinchcliffe throughout the day today. They've just not been happy with their race car through practice or in the early stages of this race because of an oversteer issue. And boy, when it goes bad, you just can't get out of your own way sometimes in regards to the bad luck. So they're in. They've taken off the reds. As you see, blacks are going on. They've got that spare tire out from underneath, and away goes Hinchcliffe.
That was a Firestone red he just took off there. Just
bad.
Sorry.
That was a bad one. That was a bad one. But he is not having a good day.
If this was a hockey game, that's 2 minutes in the penalty box.
There you go. No, but for a guy that's been so talented, won races this year, he has just had unlucky seasons.
Hey, speaking of penalties, as we take another look at this and see where James actually picks it up right there.
Well,
He had no place to go, did he?
No, trying to make a move and ends up catching the tire. But, you know, I loved a tweet that he had just a little while ago that Hinchcliff said, you know, I don't always finish races, but when I do, I prefer to win. Taking off one of the things here. What's going on these days?
That's last year when the track was coming up and literally picked up the front end of his car. He could not even make the turn and went straight into the wall, and that's what began a long afternoon. And unfortunately, it hasn't been much better for him here, as this time he picks up the spare tire and has to make the unscheduled pit stop. Now, let me update you on a couple things. EJ Viso jumped the restart. He had a drive-through penalty, so it's gone from bad to worse for a pole sitter. And IndyCar is telling us that they are looking under review between Briscoe and Viso. And also another incident under review between Justin Wilson and Tony Kanaan.
Wilson is really working the Penske car hard. Ex-Formula One driver, Scott.
I know, very talented. You and I were talking about this morning. For a driver that's the tallest driver in this series, 6'3.5". One of the heaviest guys because of his height, so he's got a bit of a weight penalty there, but is just brilliant behind the steering wheel.
And he's very fit. So in a place like this, you would expect him to come on strong at the end of the race. And tomorrow, if his car is running, you expect exactly the same thing. Look at this group of cars.
Rick, you got more?
Well, Graham Rahal is talking to his dad, Bobby, on the radio. And that last stop, he said, this is playing into our hands perfectly. The car is coming to us. They're right where they want to be. Think about this. He's in 10th right now. He started 23rd. He's moved up well. He thinks he's in a good place in this race.
If Marco gets any closer to Graham Rahal, he'll be sitting in his lap.
Look at Mike Conway for the race lead as he goes around Ryan Hunter-Reay. So obviously, we saw this happen about 3/4 of the way through the run before, where Ryan Hunter-Reay all of a sudden slowed down.
Well, don't forget, I know what you're pointing at. Red versus black sidewall tires. Here we go.
Very tidy. Perfect setup.
And the Sonny's barbecue machine makes the dive on the inside. Does a great job.
And he's saying bye-bye.
And Ryan Hunter-Reay right there in the car that you were looking at a second ago. The red sidewall tires, more grip, but they seem to go off, as you mentioned, Eddie, and they seem like they could possibly be going off now.
And just so we can tell everybody, another pass. Dixon just passed Kanaan. What nobody has to worry about fuel right now. It is flat out with as much power as you have, so we don't have to worry about fuel consumption and strategy.
And you know, when you just said that, remind me of driving here at this course all the time. In situations like this, when you're working so hard around here, you are huffing and puffing for breath. Remember, 180 beats a minute or more, and your heart rate is up there, and you're working, you're sweating, and you're just getting pounded each and every lap.
When you're in the first six, it's all very easy.
Marty, we're watching Tony Kanaan. There is no penalty going to be assessed between that incident that was under review between he and Justin Wilson. So racing continues.
I think Tony Kanaan is holding up Franchitti, and Dixon is taking advantage of it.
Let's check in on this target team. Vince is caught up with Mike Hall.
Well, Mike, you guys averted disaster early with the contacts. Things certainly seem to be going better. Any complaints with the car with Scott? Seems to be moving up.
Car's good. Target's car is great. It's just nice to be at the pointed end of the race. That's about it for us right now. We got a ways to go here.
Car seems fast, happy with the speed.
Yeah, right from the start, Scott said this car was good. Maybe changing the rear wing and put different tires on helped. I don't know, but car's running great.
Yeah, certainly avoided potential disaster with that early contact, guys.
Dixon running in 5th. There goes Dario Franchitti going around Tony Kanaan. So you were right. He was slowing up the line. And now Elio Castroneves wants a piece of his old friend.
And Kanaan has to hold on right here, because if he starts falling back, he'll keep getting past car by car by car. This is an enormous amount of pressure they're under.
A lot of pressure put on by Justin Wilson on Will Power. That's the battle for third. You're not going to miss a thing because we're going to go side by side. Power pulls away down the front straightaway. Wilson closes. Except for 3 cautions, the action has been like this the entire time here at Belle Isle. The first of our dual races. You are looking at Power, Dixon, Franchitti as they are duking it out for 4th. They're all chasing Mike Conway, who is leading this race. His teammate from Dale Coyne Racing, Justin Wilson, is running 3rd. Ryan Hunter-Reay is in the 2nd spot.
And as Eddie and I have been talking about, and Eddie, you pointed out, it's going to be interesting to see when Mike Conway puts on the alternate tire, the one that has the red sidewall, if his car is going to work as well as it is now, because by the rules you have to run both sets of tires at some point in the race. He has not yet had on the red set.
Simon Pagenaud makes his stop and puts the reds on, so he goes back out. Tony Kanaan's in. Vince?
That cost him time. Let's explain those reds and black again, Scott, one more time. The blacks seem to be better over long run. Marco's in the pits.
Jamie?
Andretti saying he hit the wall, very frustrated, so the steering is off. The car won't turn left. Remember, he came in as the point leader, and he shut the car off. Marco Andretti's day may be over, guys.
The points leader coming in. The first time he had ever led the points in his IndyCar career. And it may not end up in that same spot by the end of today. Here is still what's going on out on the track. That is Will Power, and there is Dario Franchitti.
Now, he knew he would not make the pass going into that turn. He's just sticking his nose out, filling up the mirrors to let the driver know that he's got some speed.
Now, if you're saying no, and they're both coming in, and Dixon stayed out, and he had gotten around.
This will be a great confrontation between the Penske and the Ganassi pit crew. It's a lot easier to pass somebody in the pits than it is on the racetrack.
Vince?
Dario Franchitti's been very happy with his race car. They did not make any changes on that first stop. They went red to black on the first stop, sticking with the blacks here. Will Power in. Jamie.
And Will Power, 4 tires here, filled it up with fuel. You see Marco Andretti taking off the front nose there. They're going to put a new one on. They were checking the suspension on the left rear. Again, he got in the wall and has some serious damage. The car won't turn.
These laps are so important, aren't they, Scott? You have cold tires. You've got to make as much distance up as you can.
All right, let's go back and show you what happened to Marco here. Charlie Kimball.
Yeah, Marco's up ahead.
Oh, there you go.
That wasn't.
Good thing it didn't slice the tire.
Now, this is where Dixon got around Power, and Franchitti almost followed suit.
Man, these guys are swapping places back and forth and being able to be real racy with these cars, because usually this track has been like a one-lane racetrack.
Not today.
Ryan Hunter-Reay is peeled off. That is 2nd place. Mike Conway is still out. Jamie?
And Ryan Hunter-Reay saying just a bit ago that he has no rear grip, and they told him go to mixture 3 to get that power down. Fill him up with Sunoco fuel here. You saw a turn of front wing and 4 tires blacks for Ryan Hunter-Reay.
And remember, everybody making these stops can now go the distance. This is going to be a flat-out race. No more fuel strategy.
Run on fuel. Run as hard as you can.
That is the number 4 of Ryan Briscoe taking a peek under Vautier. That's a battle for 6th. And Dale Coyne's cars are now running 1st and 2nd as a result of the Ryan Hunter-Reay pit stop. Now remember, Conway is going to have to put on the reds, and you just heard, or I should say Conway's going to put them on, and Ryan Hunter-Reay just took them off, and he was complaining about how the grip had gone away.
And we have 21 laps to go.
James Jakes trying to put some pressure on Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Heard the overtake, push it if you need it. That's the push to pass, which gives you more power for a maximum of 15 seconds. Under braking, not soon enough.
Took a peek at turn 7, could not get it done. Now into the fountain section. If you're wondering why we call it the fountain, off to the driver's right there is a beautiful fountain here at the park.
We don't see it when we're in the cockpit, Marty.
No, you don't. There it is atop your screen as we get it from our helicopter shot. Gives you an idea of the gap. Now there is Will Power in the 12, and right behind him is Dario Franchitti.
An Australian and a Scotsman.
Now
letting it out.
for 12th place right now. But remember,
have to cycle through the pit stops.
We've got a lot more stops still to come.
Not for these guys. They're done.
Yeah, they are finished.
They're done, and they're going to run as hard as they can to make up track position. Thinking gain a half a straightaway here in the front section. Then the guys that are coming out of the pit lane, hopefully they'll end up beating them when they come out of the pit.
And one of the things I'm noticing, guys, is as you take a look here, as you see the push to pass remaining, Franchitti now has 5-3 for Power. Conway has stayed out. It has been 26 laps since his last pit stop. He has a 20-second lead, which is really important coming in. But the more laps he can keep going and building this lead on the blacks helps him when he has to go to the reds.
Exactly. And if he has those reds that come into the right position, he could have an advantage other than a disadvantage, because they are very quick out of the box. But the longer you run, the slower they are. This battle here between Power and Franchitti is 100%. Everybody giving everything they have. They're using every inch of the road, and Power is not giving even a millimeter of track to Franchitti.
But when you talk about that, we see both Franchitti and Power right now, but they are running slower than Mike Conway is right now, even though they have new tires on. Vince?
Ryan Briscoe, one of the big stories of the weekend, as he has stepped into the 4-car for National Guard, replacing J.R. Hildebrand. It's been a good effort from Briscoe today. They're getting more comfortable and happier with the race car as they go. Sticking with the primary black compound tires. No changes to the 4-car for Briscoe.
What a nice pit stop. And for Ryan Briscoe, when I spoke to him at Indianapolis, he has his level 5 motorsport endurance program that he's running. He will leave for Le Mans here shortly to run over there, as we see Franchitti keeping a look to try and get underneath the 12 of Will Power. But for Ryan Briscoe, he said he'd like to be back in IndyCar full-time next year, and certainly he will be picked up as a free agent at some point in time.
You know what's great about Briscoe's weekend? He had very few laps in practice, and he's doing most of his learning in the race. And that's not a good place to be doing your learning, and he's driving like the true professional he is.
Well, and the thing you guys pointed up, as soon as he got in the car, he made a point about the master cylinder, that it just wasn't right for this track.
The pedal was too hard, and on a road course, when the pedal's hard like that, you can't basically vary the pedal a little bit and almost use it like an ABS by using your foot to stop the car from locking its wheels up going over the brakes. Now, that's just a driver preference, but I think he got into it and thought, you know something, this isn't what I need for a bumpy road course.
That's when you have to test. The driving of these two drivers is exceptional. It's very rare you get to see two people racing on a course like this and drive impeccably like they are.
Well, this has settled down for the moment. Will Power's opened up a bit of a gap. And let's go back up front, because Mike Conway still has not pitted. It has been 28 laps since his last stop. That is much further than we anticipated. But remember, we did have some caution laps.
Now, if he's getting hung up behind these guys, he needs to pit and then have the opportunity to put the new tires on, because you do not want to be held up at all in behind these guys. You're letting the guys from behind start to
track
catch up.
Position is everything at the end of the race.
Yep. There you go. Smart move.
Rick?
Yeah, Mike Conway, think about this. Last weekend, he was watching the Indy 500 on TV, got the call, he's here in the car. But as you see, they are putting on the red sidewall tires. This is the first time he's putting these tires on. The plan was to short field, get back out there and see if he can go back and win this race.
He only has to do 18 laps. That's all that's left in this race.
I think he's okay.
And there goes Justin Wilson. So he
50 miles an hour in pit lane. That seems like eternity when you've been up front.
Justin Wilson was 20 seconds behind, but he does gain the lead, but he still has to stop. Dixon's in. Vince.
And it's a short fill and black compound tires for Scott Dixon. Started way in the back and had contact early. He's recovered. Jamie.
Short fill and red stickers, red scuff tires actually for the 3-car of Elio Castroneves. The car is good.
Dixon gets out ahead of the number 3 of Castroneves.
Short. When we talk about that short fill, that means they did not take a full load of fuel, simply because we don't have that many laps to run the race.
Graham Rahal, you see there in the yellow 15, coming back out onto track as he cycles back out in the 11th position. There is your race leader. He is our 3rd different leader today, as the man who won Texas last year and will be there next week. In fact, it'll be a prime time night race on Saturday next week from Texas. Vince, you've got more?
Justin Wilson, remember, a former winner here at Belle Isle, and he was actually not very happy with his race car coming into the race because of the fact they couldn't find a consistency in their brakes. He said, especially at a place like this, you've got to have a consistent brake package. They just haven't been able to find it, but they had hit on something prior to the race today, and he certainly has a car that is among the best here this afternoon at Belle Isle.
Well, Wilson last pitted 29 laps ago, but remember, there's been 10 laps of yellow since he made that pit stop, so he can still go a few more, so that means even less time when he makes his stop.
Don't want to cut it too close. Remember what happened to Sato.
His lead right now is... You saw it on side-by-side as Justin Wilson made a pit stop, the right front tire changer. The pressure was obvious, and let's go back and show you. Here's what happened when he was leading the race.
Justin's in, hits his marks, does a nice slide in. The gun comes out of the crewman's hands, but he recovers great. New Firestone tire goes on. Just a couple of seconds longer than it needed to be, but that's probably cost him at least a position or maybe 2 on the track, Eddie.
Probably 400 yards on the track.
Came back out in 5th position behind Mike Conway, his teammate right there. Vautier, Hunter Ray, James Jakes, and then Wilson.
We talk about the pressure on the driver all the time, but when we're in the cockpit, you know, we know what's going on, so when we're out in the track, it's not so much pressure on us. Yes, pressure coming in the pit lane, but the pressure is on the crew members, especially when you got a chance to do well.
This is a team sport. Every piece has to be perfect.
Let's check in with Rick DeBrule. He has caught up with Dale Coyne.
Well, that's right. We talk about the fact that it's a team sport. Right now, he's got T cars in 1st and 3rd. I'm sure you expected this to happen when you called Mike Conway last week, right?
We thought he was good for a top 5, but we didn't know where in the top 5.
All right, so you got a car in 1st, you got a car in 3rd. How did you pull this off with a quick turnaround from Indy?
We just didn't. You try not to out-engineer yourself. A lot of people do that. So I think the entire team has done a great job, and obviously we got 2 great drivers.
All right, we don't want to jinx anything, but once again, 2 cars in the top 3. A little team done a lot of work, and James Jake has come in. He's been complaining about the car all day. Now they're going to put on another set of tires, send him back out, not working the way he thought it was going to go at the start of this race.
So that means Conway now leads by 16 seconds over Tristan Vautier. And Ryan Hunter-Reay is 3rd. Justin Wilson moves into 4th after Jakes makes the pit stop.
Hunter-Reay is 17.5 seconds behind Conway. That is a lot of distance to catch up.
And Mike Conway's making it look easy. His car is working very well. That's a combination of the springs and the shocks that are in the car. And it's probably easier for him to drive at this pace going fast than maybe it is for some of the other drivers who are struggling with their car back in maybe in 12th or 15th. So give a lot of credit to the team. Mike Conway fitting in, working with engineer John Dick. And he is just sailing away from this, making it look very easy.
Yeah, they are using their Firestone tires to a perfection today. I think a lot of this, what we're seeing with these teams that maybe don't have such a good chance to win being up in front, is these new cars and the regulations. They've stopped the technical dominance that the bigger teams have. And now the bigger teams are having to deal with many more competitors. I think it's truly a golden era that IndyCar is starting. And we saw that from the last Indy 500.
I think you're absolutely right with that great race that we saw in Brazil to the Indy 500. Doesn't matter if it's on a road course, street course, or an oval. The cars should stay the way they are. Rule changes should not be implemented because right now the cars are terrific to race.
Mike Conway well out in front, but here's what the points would look like right now as Helio Castroneves, who's running in 6th, would retake the points lead, bumping Marco down to 2nd spot. And it would only be 3 points separating the 2.
And so far, Helio Castroneves has not won a race. Penske has not won a race this year. And yet, if he stays like he is, he's going to be in the lead.
Smaller teams, smaller budgets, starting to shine.
Let me tell you something. Both Team Penske and Ganassi Racing, they've led only 32% of the laps this year. Last year, at this same time, they had led 61%, and neither team has won a race this year. So that gives you an idea how the pendulum has swung, and you're looking at the team with the Ryan Hunter-Reay there that really has been the one stepping up.
So now it's coming down to the drivers and the pit stops and the strategy. Nobody starts the race with a big technical advantage.
Tristan Vautier has to make his final stop. He was 2nd. Let's send it down to Rick.
Yeah, the rookie brings the car, and remember he did so well the first couple races of the season. Now he's been getting some fuel in Sunoco, pull more tires, send him back out. The goal to do as well as he can, most importantly to finish this race.
We'll watch and see where he cycles back out onto the racetrack as you see the James Hinchcliffe going by. And it looks like he's going to come out at about 10th.
Nice job for the rookie, the driver who's been going through the Road to Indy program with all the different types of cars that they have here to work his way up through the Formula cars. He's done a nice job.
Graham Rahal gets around him because Vautier has to be a little bit careful on those cold tires. So moving back to 11th.
We only have 11 laps to go.
And remember, we're going to do it all over again tomorrow, 3:30 Eastern on your ABC station, as the duel at Detroit will continue. And I think the guys are going to be heading for the massage table as soon as this one's over.
You know, we'll see tomorrow is who spent a lot of time in the gym and who spent a lot of time having fun over the winter.
Yes, and who's got the blisters on their hands, because I can recall from racing here that this track beats you up and your hands generally have blisters on. You generally have a week to recoup, but not this time, Eddie.
I don't think that's the only place you're going to have blisters. You might have them on your backside also, because this is a very bumpy track.
There's Marco Andretti running in front of Will Power and James Hinchcliffe. But remember, Andretti is 3 laps down in 21st position.
And Sato is 2 laps down.
All right, we've got to take one more local station break, and then we'll come back here to Belle Isle. We'll be back after a word from your ABC station. NBA Finals begin Thursday, June 6th on ABC. Who survives the Eastern Conference Finals? Well, we'll find that out tonight. Heat lead the Pacers in that one 3-2. And that winner there will contend for the championship against the Spurs. It's game 1 of the finals Thursday, June 6th on ABC. Coverage begins at 8:30 with Kia NBA Countdown. And of course, James Hinchcliffe, as you saw, as we had to stop off at top off because he had been out there just long enough that he was not going to make it to the end of the race. So he dropped from 9th all the way back to 14th.
Just had a little bit of fuel, didn't even change his tires, went right back on the circuit. Conaway is 17 seconds ahead of Hunter Ray, and we have 8 laps to go. That is a serious beating he is putting on the whole field.
And making it look easy.
Look out. Contact there between Di Silvestro and Charlie Kimball.
And it's for position.
They are battling for 15th and 16th on the track.
I have a feeling she might repay the favor back here in a second.
Got to take, getting out of here, you got to get the power down. Looks like she could not really do that.
Take another look. Here's Charlie coming underneath. Whoa.
A little bit of a slide job. A little bit missing the apex.
But she turned in way too early. Should have given a little bit more room.
Well, she wanted to go towards a direct line, didn't she? And Kimball had slid and missed the apex a little bit.
You can't always do what you want to do in a race car. There's often somebody that's occupying that piece of space that you want.
Right. And Silvestro has got 5 push to pass left. Kimball just has 1.
Dixon right on Wilson.
Now remember, Dixon had to fall all the way to the back of this field after the first lap incident with A.J. Allmendinger. And Wilson right in front of him running on the red tires. Dixon on the harder compound primary blacks. And he's looking for the spot.
He's on the push to pass, and he did not get it done.
So at this point, you would almost say that the blacks have an advantage over the reds. Which means that
especially the
Dixon,
longer the stick goes, that's for sure. Now Dixon is down to his last push to pass, so he's going to have to take advantage of it here.
And Wilson has 3.
And it's all down to timing. You want to make sure you come out of the turn, timing it correctly. You're on the power as quickly as possible, hopefully before the car that's in front of you, so you can get that run going down the straightaway. Not a whole lot of drafting here, maybe just a little bit, but you need to be able to push the pass and maybe pop on the inside of the driver like you would coming out of 2, going on the way down to turn 3. Vince Welsh?
Well, you guys mentioned the fact that the blacks were holding up better than the reds at this point. Certainly has been the case for Dixon throughout the course of this weekend. We also told you prior to the race that Dixon was going to have to use pit strategy to come back from 15th. And the way that early contact worked out, it actually maybe played in his favor as the race went on. As he came in and topped off, gave him a few extra laps on the fuel. Dixon certainly been one of the fastest of the day. Now, Justin Wilson, also it's been a bit of a struggle from the brakes perspective for Wilson this weekend. He hasn't liked the brake package. You see his brother looking on there, Stefan. They felt like the brake package mileage had been inconsistent. It was something that concerned Justin mightily as he headed into this race. But boy, it's been spot on so far here this afternoon. Great battle between these two. Wilson leading Dixon.
Wilson is going to have to pull out everything he has, Marty, because it's going to be almost impossible to stop Dixon. You can tell he keeps gaining 20 to 30 yards every time he breaks.
But watch Dixon. He works so hard in the 3, 4, 5, 6 complex to get close to Wilson coming out of turn 6 to get that run down the straight. He did that last time. He did not use his last push to pass, but he'll probably let the tires just cool off a little bit here. Let's see if he tries that once again going down the backstretch.
You heard the call on the pit radio. 5 laps to go. And boy, what a drive by Scott Dixon. All the way back to 24th after the first lap incident. Here he is in the 4th position and could make the podium.
This is really just a game of chess at this point. Dixon has to occupy a little bit of road on the inside. Once he has that spot, Wilson will not turn down in on him, but he has to occupy. He has to get his nose in there to make sure he pushes Wilson a little bit out.
What he's doing. Watch, he tries to get close here. I'm not sure he's close enough now, unless he uses the push to pass.
And then look at it, not close at all, and that's the long straightaway. That's heading down towards turn 7.
This is the point in the race when you know you only have a few laps left, but your body aches so much, your joints ache so much, but you're just pushing yourself. It's mind over matter just to keep going.
The Castroneves and Franchitti are right behind Dixon.
Yeah, they're closing on this group, so now you see all 4 cars. That is from 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Conaway is still leading, and he has 11 seconds over Hunter Ray. Wilson is 22 seconds behind Conway.
Mike can pretty much put it on cruise control and win this race as long as nothing happens.
Problem with cruise control for a driver is that's when you make a mistake. I'm sure he'll be pushing every bit as hard as he has been up to this point.
Right now, Dario Franchitti trying to push Helio Castroneves. There you see the push to pass remaining. Dixon with only 1.
This is a train right now. Make one mistake, and the guy behind you is going to get by.
You know, we can't show it visually because he's 12 seconds further back, but let's give a shout out to Joseph Newgarden running in 7th. We want to stay on this battle because we don't want to miss it. But Newgarden, I mean, he really never showed on the radar last week at Indianapolis. Now he is up to the 7th position and has picked up 10 positions since the last restart. Whoa, trouble! Briscoe is into the barrier. So now,
3 laps left to go.
With 3 laps to go, will we have another yellow finish, or will they be able to clear this and we'll have a shootout?
Well, let's see if we go yellow, because right now is in a dangerous position for a full course yellow. Or are we going to have a local yellow?
It's still local.
Briscoe, that was a bad
Briscoe is
mistake.
just pounding the steering wheel. So far they have not thrown the full course caution. So these guys will continue to race.
So he looks like he is off the racing line right now because you want to get close to the inside wall, which is your apex.
If this was a Grand Prix race, they would have a local yellow, which would mean you cannot accelerate or pass there, and everybody would know the car is there. It's a very difficult thing to police, and we had some problems with that in practice here.
Oh, the back end just comes around. So what he's been asking for is a restart.
And we are hearing from IndyCar officials they will leave it local. They're going to let this race continue.
Excellent decision.
Down into turn number 7. This battle continues. Franchitti getting ever closer. All of a sudden, though, as we check the scoreboard, our scoring monitor says that Mike Conway's lead is now down to 10 seconds over Ryan Hunter-Reay's. It was a tad more, so it looks like Mike is easing off a bit. He only has 2 laps to go.
Franchitti now, the car that's at the end of this queue, the black car, looks like he's being able to get back on the gas quicker than the other cars.
At this point, do you think they're really willing to risk the car since they have to race tomorrow?
That's right, and that's the point. If this was a race that was a week away from now, we're on our way to Texas, probably would, but you're right. You don't want to risk a whole lot when you're in this position right now. If it was for the win, probably so.
Yes, but this is not for the win. This is for
points.
6th, 5th, 4th, and 3rd.
Well, after getting spanked last week at Indianapolis, Honda has come back. They have 7 of the top 10 runners, including the race leader. Now here they come up on this local yellow, so nobody can pass through this zone. But as soon as they clear, hammer down. And look at Franchitti. He is right up on Helio Castroneves.
Use the push to pass.
He doesn't have any left, I don't think. He is done.
Nope.
So anything he's doing is just by getting out of the turn and having your foot on the gas and timing it right.
Both cash. And there's the white flag for Mike Conway. What a race this guy has driven, as he has one more circuit around this 2.35-mile layout, and he will start on pole tomorrow, as he qualified #1 earlier this morning. Battle continues, although Franchitti can't get close enough. Justin Wilson, it looks like it could be a 2-man podium finish for Dale Coyne Racing.
There's going to be some aching bodies here today. Even thinking back to driving this course, sometimes late in the race, your steering wheel, you got your hand on it. You can feel the blisters underneath your gloves.
If you're a massage therapist or a chiropractor, we've got some jobs for you tonight. Here comes Franchitti again, taking a look on Helio.
What a superb drive from Conway.
There's the new local yellow one more time, and nobody's close enough to make a pass here, so they're going to make it all the way down to turn 7. And Mike Conway, meanwhile, is getting ready to cross
really close.
the finish line. This man had 2 horrific crashes at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Said that I don't want to drive on the ovals anymore, but he sure can drive the road courses. His 2nd career win, and Mike Conway does it in style. Ryan Hunter-Reay is in 2nd, but here is the battle for 3rd. Closest one on the track. His Dale Coyne teammate hanging on to the spot. One more stretch to go, and here he comes. Justin Wilson will hold on to 3rd. Look at how close it was for 4th.
All right, attaboy, way to bring her home. P3, Conway, P1.
What a day for Dale Coyne Racing. It took him 25 years to get his first win for that man right there. Today, he's 1st and 3rd. A week ago, he's watching the Indianapolis 500 in England. Here he is racing today.
The racing gods have an amazing sense of humor, don't they?
There they are, the teammates take a little parade together. His last win, 2011 in Long Beach. And it's the 3rd overall win for Dale Coyne Racing. The first one came back in 09 at Watkins Glen, and last year at Texas. And this time, the celebration belongs to that man right there. Stay with us.
ESPN's coverage of the Indy Duel in Detroit Race 1 on ABC. Brought to you by Progressive. Visit Progressive.com today.
Yeah. Well, the celebration is about to begin down on pit road, as there you see Mike Conway getting congratulated from Justin Wilson, his teammate, and he has worked hard for this moment. As he gets ready to climb out, let's send it down to Rick DeBrule.
Mike Conway getting out of the car. What a race. There's a guy who, once again, just a week ago was watching the Indy 500, and today he's a winner in Detroit. Mike Conway not just winning, but dominating.